G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people. We've got Joseph Parker versus Dereck Chisora, the rematch this Saturday. And given how good the live watch along for the Conor Benn fight last weekend just went, I'm going to do one again for this fight. Going to have them like a little recurring kind of thing on the channel. But I got to give my 2 cents on this fight. I got to give a pick. I got to talk about it. I got to break it down. I also want to talk about the card. That's just the card in a nutshell. But I'm going to reserve that for a separate video that's going to go out tomorrow. So you'll see that. That's kind of going to be a kind of midweek review, so it'll be in there along with other things as well. But we're just going to talk about this fight mainly now for the time being. Now, the first fight, I didn't watch it live. I watched it the day after, and it was definitely close. It was competitive the whole way through. Chisora did quite well against Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker couldn't have got off to a worst possible start. He was down in the first round. Parker's always shown a good chin, and he can recover quite well. He wasn't massively hurt by the knockdown, but it was kind of jaw dropping moment where you're like, that early, really? He was able to recover, and he won the decision. It was very close. Like, realistically, like, I've watched it back. Could have went either way, that fight, to be honest with you. It really kind of depended. It was real nip and tuck close fight. Could have really depended on what you preferred. Now, the thing about Chisora that was interesting in that fight was that he didn't really use his jab that much. And what's interesting about that is that he was trained by that fight. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know if he's changed trainer or if it's still the same. If anyone wants to correct me in the comment section. Because when I tried looking up, it said he was still trained by the same man. He was trained by Buddy McGurk for the first fight. That was his first fight with Buddy McGurk. Now, Buddy McGurk, his fighters tend to jab a lot, and they tend to be quite defensively sound for the most part. Anyway, tend to box a lot. He wasn't jabbing that much, but he was heeding the advice, and he really was kind of, in the zone with what Buddy McGurk was saying. So that was kind of strange for Chisora. Now, if he's still with Buddy McGurk, and he's still training with him, then it might be interesting to see if they employ the jab in this fight, and I think that Dereck Chisora will be well advised to do that. Against Alexander Usyk, he was actually using it quite a bit, and although he lost the Usyk fight clearly, he was competitive early on. And that's something Parker's going to want to watch out for, is that he'll want to use the jab, not just early on, at all times in this fight, just to go up against Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker's jab's okay, but when Chisora uses it, it's not a bad punch. He's really, he's going to want to invest in Joseph Parker's body. Parker does have a good chin. Yes, he's been down a few times, but if you look at the heavyweight division, most of them have been down. And in terms of the top 10, and you could say Joseph Parker's the top 10, he has one of the better chins. The shots that have dropped him, well, it was a headbutt, the first knockdown of the Dylan White fight. In the 9th round, that was a good shot. That would have knocked down most guys. And I think it was more balanced that put him down in the first round against Chisora. So for the most part, Parker's got a very, very good chin. When he is a good fighter, he lacks that fighter's instinct. He lacks that viciousness. I've always said that about Parker. It annoys me because he's such a talented fighter. But I'll touch on him now in a second, what he needs to do. I'd be saying to Dereck Chisora, hit Joseph Parker to the body. Be interesting to see what he comes in at. I maintain, I've been saying this for years, Parker's optimum weight will be in the 230s. I think that's when he's at his fastest in terms of hand and foot speed. When he's in the 240s, the foot speed is noticeably diminished, and he tends to plod a lot more. So if Parker is weighing that, you're going to have a more stationary target. So invest in the body, and even if he is lighter, you're going to invest in that body, because Chisora throws clubbing hard body shots, and that could wear Joseph Parker down. It could take a little bit of his energy for later on in the fight if Chisora goes through a kind of dip mid-fight, which I kind of do expect him to do, because against Usyk, he put so much into the early rounds, trying to just get on top of his opponent, manhandle them, use his physical strength, and just kind of brawl with the opponent. He does tend to fade then after. Now, what I'm thinking of is, if Chisora is going to fade maybe in the mid-rounds, would he save and hold a little bit in reserve for the later rounds thereafter, so as though he could maybe put on an attack with Joseph Parker at the end if he's accumulated some damage with body shots, if he's taken some of the air out of Joseph Parker's sails, and maybe Joseph Parker by the end of the fight is a little bit tired, could Chisora come on strong then? I think that's kind of what he needs to do. He needs to work on his jab. He needs to just try, if he wants to jab his way in, You know, if he wants to get inside on Joseph Parker, land some of the body shots, but he's having trouble getting past his. I said this several times. I've said it in the live watch along. I've said it several times. Sometimes using your jab to get inside, double up on the jab, will help blind the opponent, and it can help you use your head movement to get inside and then go to work. So that's my advice for Chisora. I don't think Chisora is stopping Joseph Parker. I think if anyone is likely to get stopped in this fight, it is going to be Dereck Chisora, because I think, well, both guys have pretty sturdy chins, to be fair. You know, it has to be said. Both guys do, to be fair, have pretty sturdy chins. But I just don't see Chisora being able to stop Joseph Parker. Potentially, I could see Joseph Parker stopping Dereck Chisora. What I think Parker needs to do... Now, Parker boxed a lot in that first fight. He did. He was up on his toes. He boxed. And that's something we do see from Joseph Parker nowadays. He does tend to just box his way through fights, as opposed to, you know, remember early on in Joseph Parker's career when he was getting a lot of knockouts, and what a lot of people were talking about him, they were impressed by his speed, they were impressed by his explosive punching power, because he got some very good knockouts early on in his career, you know, it has to be said. And prior to AJ beating Vladimir Klitschko, in around that time period, you know, the kind of 2017 kind of time period, you know, when Tyson Fury was kind of got AWOL, and it was really kind of Wilder, AJ, Parker. At the time, Parker's resume before AJ got Klitschko was quite impressive. Andy Ruiz, Carlos Takam, he beat Demetrenko. Who else did he beat? He beat Francois Boa. Oh, that was an ancient Francois Boa, it had to be said, but nevertheless, it was a decent name. And, you know, Parker's resume wasn't bad earlier on, you know. And back then, kind of the Ruiz fight was where he really started boxing a lot more and really trying to, you know, work on the back foot. But prior to that, I was quite impressed with how he was looking. He was looking ferocious. He was looking fast. Still looks fast. Explosive. That's kind of... It's still there, but he doesn't use it as much. He mainly relies on his boxing ability and is able to stay, you know, use his legs. When his feet are fast, he's got quite good feet. Got a decent jab and some decent punching power as well. There is... Listen to Joseph Parker shots. There is power there. You know, I've seen it several... Even against Dillian Whyte in their fight, when he was landing, and it wasn't landing flush on Dillian Whyte, but you could hear the shots land on the glove. You could tell there was explosiveness on them shots. You could tell there was punching power there. It's for whatever reason, maybe he's just not as accurate. Maybe he doesn't like it when a guy is, you know, doing a good job slipping or avoiding the shots, and he just finds it harder to land them. But what Parker, if I was in his team, I'd be saying, right, we're going to want to box Dereck Chisora on the back foot. We're going to want to be wary early on. We got caught in the first round. Chisora in the first 3-4 rounds. That's when he has his most energy about him. That's when he really comes on the strongest. So we're really going to want to be careful in them rounds that we don't give them away, because you don't want to be 4 rounds down in a fight where, you know, you don't know if the guy will come on late. You know, so you want to try and just use your jab to offset Dereck Chisora. Take a few steps to the side. If he's ever trying to come in, throw swings, don't panic under pressure. Take maybe a step to the side, but look to come in with fast, explosive counters. A lot of the times, right, when you're watching a fight and you're maybe scoring it, if you're looking at a nip and tuck round, if you see someone land a couple of... bit like what Katie Taylor does. I know maybe it's a poor comparison, but hear me out. When you see like a real close fight, when you see one of the fighters just maybe take a step out, land some counters that are eye-catching, a lot of times the judge's decision at the end of that round will be swayed, because they'll remember those, oh, he landed them eye-catching counters. And someone like Parker, it really would be eye-catching because he is quite explosive. So I think he might need to do that. He's working with Andy Lee. This is his second fight with Andy Lee. It's going to be very interesting to see if Andy Lee's been able to bring something out of Joseph Parker in the immediate time. You know, the first time around, it was March until May. So it was a kind of quick turnaround, because he fought Junior Fa in February, the end of February. Then he was straight over to the... Was it America? Yeah, he was straight over to the UK. Actually, he started his camp in Ireland, believe it or not. That's where he actually initially started the camp. He was training in Dublin with Andy Lee. I think it's all in England now anyway, in Manchester, I think. But he didn't have a lot of time to really get, you know, familiarised with Andy Lee. Yes, he knew Tyson Fury and those guys prior, but it was working with Andy Lee, working with a new trainer, having spent his whole career at that stage with Kevin Barry. It might have taken a little bit of adjusting. Now he's had a full camp with Andy Lee. He's had this camp with Andy Lee. He's been able to properly kind of get kind of in gear with Andy Lee and see how it's going to go. I think Andy Lee is a decent trainer. He certainly appears that way to me. I know Isaac Lowe recently lost and Andy Lee was training for that, but he does appear to know what he's talking about. He's got a good boxing brain, Andy Lee. So we'll see if he brings anything out with Joseph Parker. I've always felt, though, with Parker, what he needs in a trainer, and I'm not necessarily saying this will be a good fit for him necessarily, but he needs someone like a Teddy Atlas. Maybe not him necessarily in that regards, but he maybe needs someone who is a little bit more fiery. Because I think Joseph Parker is, I've said this before about him, he's just too nonchalant at times. He's just a little bit too nice, a little bit too easygoing. And when you have a calm voice, and Andy Lee is a very calm voice, you know, he's a calm voice in that corner, which that's good for certain fighters. But when you're looking at Joe Parker and you really, it's like you're in a close fight and you really want him to show some dog. Is it really going to help if it's a case of, Joe, we're losing this fight? Yeah, we're losing this fight. You're going to go out there and put it on him. What he needs is someone to say, get up, go out. And I'm not going to shout, obviously, on camera or obviously for a video, but you know what I mean. Really, go on, find some fire. I'm getting it in you. Get out there and do what you need to do. Grab the bull by the horn. I think Parker would benefit more from that. Having said that, we see how he looks with Andy Lee. If Andy Lee has brought anything new out of him in the immediate time, it can only be a good thing. Joseph Parker is a very talented fighter. He is. He's got so many good tools there that you'd want in a fighter. He's a decent chin, decent punching power, very good hand speed, decent foot speed, good athleticism, good boxing ability. He's only 29 years old at the end of the day. He's been around for ages. But yes, he is only 29 years old. Very young for the heavyweights. Some heavyweights don't even reach their prime until they're in their 30s. So that's a kind of scary thought. Like, is Parker not even near it? Could Parker only be coming into his prime now? Potentially. You know, so I really do think we're going to see the best of Joseph Parker. I've said this before and I've been proven wrong, but genuinely I feel we will see it this time around from the fans, which will help. I think that the last fight was behind closed doors, and it maybe it just for Chisora as well, actually, it should help him because he's someone who feeds off the fans. I mean, if this was in London, you'd know all about it, but maybe that will bring more out of both fighters, having the fans there, specifically Dereck Chisora, but I think Parker as well, it might help him as well. As for Parker, as I said, early on, Chisora's going to be coming at him pretty, aggressively, with most of his energy. What he's going to want to do as well, a bit like Chisora, invest in Chisora's body. Chisora's been around for many, many years now. He's pushing 40. I think he's 37 years old now at this stage. So, as I said, he can't fight at a massive, murderous pace for 12 rounds. So, tire him out, invest in his body, look for the counters to the head. If you need to keep on the back foot, keep on the back foot, pop your jab out, look for any opportunity to land the right hand. If you can even triple up on the jab maybe, and then maybe just, feint the jab, then thereafter throw a lead right hand, you might walk into that. I think that could be a good little shot. That might be a good little combination. Throw a couple of jabs, maybe a triple jab, keep him off balance, feint the jab, bop a right hand down the middle, see how that works for you. But late on in the fight is when Parker's really going to want to be at his best, because I think that's when he has his best chance to potentially force a stoppage with Dereck Chisora. There was a few moments in the first fight where he did appear to rock Chisora slightly with right hands. He didn't do anything really to back it up. He just kind of let it go, let that slide. I'd like to see, if Parker gets an opportunity, I would like to see him, if not close to show that he can, put a hurting on his opponent. I think that's something he needs to do. To show that, because at the highest level, that will pay. Imagine you're in a world title scenario against whoever. It could be AJ, could be anyone, and you maybe do get your opponent hurt, but your instinct isn't telling you he's hurt, and you let him survive. A good example would be, go look at Jesse Hart versus Zudo Ramirez in the first fight. It was the 11th, I think it was the 10th or the 11th round, where Jesse Hart, in a very close fight, hurt Ramirez, hurt him with a right hand, if memory serves me correctly, and he didn't do anything. Ramirez was hurt, but he didn't do anything. He just kind of let that round go. He kind of took the round as if, well, I've won the round. He lost the fight. Very close fight. A knockdown there could have won him the fight. So at the highest level, that pays all the dividends. If you notice you've got an opponent in there who's maybe rocked slightly, you step on that gas, man. Step on it. Go on. If you're not going to get rid of him, okay, maybe take a step back, but at least give it a go. So I think Parker needs to do that. I think that, as I said, on the back foot, go Chisora's body, wary of the first couple of rounds, 3-4 rounds. Chisora's normally at his freshest then. If you can win a couple of them rounds, if you can do some eye-catching work in them rounds whilst he's still fresh, when he slows down the stretch, which we expect him to, that's really when you go and try and find, third, fourth, fifth gear. At that stage is when I think Parker put his foot on the gas. Have to give a pick on this fight. Gave both sides. Parker, for me, to win this fight. Parker, I'm just meta the victory is what I'm thinking of. Parker to win on a unanimous decision. I don't think he'll stop Chisora. I don't. I think it's going 12 rounds. But he will win it without anyone saying it was nip and tuck, it was close, could have gone either way. I think that he will win this fight 7-3, 10-2. In around that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, if you could, lads and lassies, smash the old like button. Hit subscribe. I got a video for you tomorrow as well. This is going to go out this evening. For now, I'll talk to you. Peace.